You ever played any golf out in California?
We're going to the land of Pebble Beach.
Man,
I had not been out
you.
to Pebble, but I did. We got our father out there before he left us, so he got to play Pebble
That's
Beach.
awesome. I saw a wedding on the 18th hole of Pebble Beach.
Mm-hmm.
That is enough reason to drink right there if you're the father of the
Oh
bride, my
yeah,
friend.
no, you don't just look over the links. You don't have to play them. It gets aggravating out there.
It was spectacular. And
Pacific pounding, but we're going to go a little inland from that.
We are.
Up into the mountains we are.
Well, this is the Distilleries, Breweries, Wineries of the world, and sitting to my left is Tim Bona, our national and international travel writer for the golf and sipping world.
Yeah, have I told you recently how proud I am to be a part of this Distilleries, Breweries, and Wineries team? Because
no.
I think back it was only 15 years ago. Remember what people were drinking? Those wine coolers. That was a joke.
Yeah, well, going back to my college, you want to go there.
No. Now we have these spirit-driven cocktails and distillers. Just nothing's being covered up by a bevy of other ingredients, and our next guest has something to do with that.
I'll tell you what, he comes from a state. You know, here in Wisconsin, we complain about the winter. Mm-hmm. Out there, they have fire season, then they have mudslide seasons, and then they could break off into the ocean and sail to Japan.
Oh, that's right. There's a fault out there.
But again, this young man, he's found an area of the world that I think we just going to oogle and ogle over.
Beautiful, yeah.
And on the line, we have Chris Seller from the California Artisinal Distillers Guild, somewhere by Lake Tahoe. And I think he said El Dorado Hills.
Yeah.
Welcome. Thank you. Appreciate the phone call today.
Well, we really appreciate you having us on and spending some time and talking about your great friends in this great state of California. Have you guys recovered from all the havoc that's been going on out there for the past year and a half?
Well, I don't know that we ever fully recover because it seems like we just go from one to another. But I know a lot of the people over that way are still having some tough times.
Yeah, you just keep growing things out there. The growth in California, the ag industry, between the beer breweries, the wine industry, have kind of created some creative momentum for you guys in distilling direct-to-consumer sales. Now you're catching up to Washington, Oregon, and New York, aren't you?
We sure are trying, but they've definitely blazed a trail ahead of us. Most people don't realize that the craft distilling world started in California, down in the Bay Area, but we were quickly surpassed over the last 10 years by those states.
Right. With those brandies, as I recall, back in the early 80s, was it?
Right.
Yeah.
We had St. George Spirits down in Bonita. We had Marco's dad up at Charbet, and then, of course, the famous Hubert St. Germain.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Right.
And then you're so diverse from where you're located to those in the southern part of California. How do you get your members together? What do you get together in meetings in the middle of the state, or how does that work for your members?
To be honest, we really don't yet because we're all so busy growing our own businesses that we get phone calls, we trade emails, we have a Google page. But the only time we ever really get time to meet is if we're at a pouring event somewhere. Usually they're in San Francisco, but we are trying to do some down in Los Angeles as well.
Yeah, Chris, in researching this interview, I mean, I just got the feeling, in the Midwest and the East Coast, they're doing a great job of capturing a bygone era with their distilleries and their product. But out in California, very few companies are trying to relive the past. You're just out there on the edge, aren't you?
Yeah, I think for the most part, most brands are very forward in their approach to marketing and their products that they're making. My own personal brand, we do kind of leverage the gold rush. It's very much a vibe for us, but I know there's a couple that do a little bit of prohibition-themed stuff. But yeah, you're right. A lot of it is very modern and very forward-thinking.
When I was doing some research on that gold rush era, do they still find gold? Do people still come out and think that there's still a little bit around in the creeks and such?
Yeah, in fact, it's kind of funny. Last summer, I moved out to a new place right in the middle of the gold country that every once in a while I'd have to go in the back and tell people with snorkels to get out of my creek.
Oh, geez.
So I said I own a distillery. If anybody needs some pot of gold, it's me.
Yeah, there you go. Well, it is a tough business, and we're visiting with Chris Suller of the California Artisinal Distillers Guild this morning, and it's really great because the state of California is so diverse and so big. You got the great wine country and all of these industries melting into one, and you have a 3-tier system out there that for distribution and different legislative scenarios. Have you had any recently that have come up that you'd like to share with us today?
Well, yeah. I mean, as we talked a minute ago, we had great success with AB 933 back in 2012. Nancy Skinner was an assembly person then, and then we had...
well, that was the tasting rooms, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right, that was tasting rooms.
And your goal was not to turn tasting rooms into bars. It was an educational experience, like visiting a winery or brewery, right?
Right. And then we went into 2015, and we have the Craft Distillers Act, which allowed us to direct sell to consumers up to 3 bottles per day.
Nice.
And that helped a lot.
Absolutely.
And now Nancy's been elected to the Senate, and she's come back to offer her assistance on a new bill, SB 1164, which hopefully will get some things updated for us to, again, compete with some of these other states that have been very progressive. So we're working on it.
Are in your different areas, wine and breweries and distilleries, are they all on the same plane legislative-wise? I mean, do you all have the same rules, or do they change? Open hours are different from one to the other, or have they tried to marry those together? How does that work?
It's interesting because obviously the wine industry in California goes and predates the gold rush. They are very established in their legislative programs and do very well for their memberships. We have the brewers that have been around as an association over 20 years. And so we're the new guys on the block. And the first time law was changed in California was with AB 933 since the end of Prohibition.
Oh, my goodness.
So we're still dealing with 1933, and we have very good partners in the California ABC. We have very good partners in the legislature, but we're kind of sometimes on different planes on what the interpretation of things are. So we're trying to clarify with legislation things that we need to be interpreted in a way that works better for us.
Yeah, that's going to connect you with the communities in a way that is, it's profitable for the small distiller, and it's going to be enormous, isn't it?
Absolutely. When you look at our economy just as a state, we're a huge economy, and we are also very we consume quite a bit of alcohol in this state too. We're not just producers; we enjoy it as well.
Well, one of the things we're trying to do with our Links and Libations magazine is help, because you guys work hard. One of the we found here in Wisconsin, dealing with the presidents of all 3 industries, is that you don't have time for social media. It's hard to stay in front of the people that come and sip, but we also know that the people look at your Facebook and your social media because they want to know what's going on, and they want to know where they can buy your product, and they just like to know the story. So our Links and Libations put this little idea together for golf and sipping, Tim.
Imagine that.
Have you ever played golf in California?
Imagine that. Yes.
Golfers golf, then they sip. Have you ever experienced that in your
my!
life?
Particularly up in Lake Tahoe, the ball just hangs in the air forever up on the North Shore there.
I know it.
Oh my gosh.
Well, we certainly want to help and grow and support your industry, Chris. So anytime you have great articles, we are going to put you in our list. We're putting you in the on the Links and Libations social media platform, so we'll be sending you our links to our magazine and social media updates. We're actually going to have a new show. Should we make this announcement? The state of California?
Why not? Go for it, Uncle Randy.
Well, I guess we'll do it in California because it's one of the biggest. How many, if you compared California and the world in terms of economic driver, they'd be a huge country.
Number 3 or 4 in economies in the world, isn't it?
Yeah. So anyway, we want to have a little entertainment, so 2 weeks from now we're going to be getting back into our Links and Libations version of Distilleries, Breweries, Wineries of the World.
Absolutely. Have fun or get out.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do. You don't have any golf courses near you, do you, Chris?
Oh, there's a few around us.
There's some gorgeous ones up there.
Well, we'll have our editor-in-chief get in touch with you and try to unweave these stories. But Tim and I might threaten to call you back. And,
that's right.
Talk about...
I'll be here.
All right, Chris. Cheers, buddy.
Thank you. Call us anytime you have anything you want to have the microphone turned on for her. It'll go live and hot, and that'll come from El Dorado Hills, and that was Chris Seller, head of the California Artisinal Distillers.
Speaking of distilling and aging, the oldest tree in the world, Randy, Bristol Cone Pine up in California, 5,000 years old, out there in the White Mountains.
Are you? Well, you're the guy that likes to rake up the leaves.
Of course, we got our redwoods out there, too. They're almost 400 feet tall.
That tree's almost as old as you are, young Tim.
Yes.
5,000 years old. Can you imagine that? Look at Kira over there. She's going, he's not that old. He's only 2,500 years old. She's claiming I'm 900 years old. I never can outlive that. Anyway, California is great as long as it doesn't fall in the ocean, burn up.
Slide away.
Yeah, let's just grow those vegetables for us.
Keep sipping.
Have a good one. Talk to you later.